Boi. Come. Bashalan. In the peace. Atele. Putting crown on. Byler. Her husband. Boi Kailar. Come bride. This is a beautiful Hebrew wedding song, as if the angels in heaven are calling for the bride who has been waiting for 6,000 years to stand up bravely and put on the crown of glory for the coming King of Heaven.
大家好，欢迎来到以诺谈天节目。今天我们讲亚伯拉罕的故事第13部分。苦等百年中结果，甜蜜入心喜笑欢。突见童子见止笑，驱逐玛丽千年愁。前面我们说了，上帝在创造天地之先就呼唤亚伯兰2次，伯兰，伯兰。伯兰出生现天象，宁录王要杀他，结果仆人的儿子代替了亚伯兰，神救了他。亚伯兰苦寻上帝，宁录建塔办天庭。亚伯兰披神像，宁录把亚伯兰与哥哥哈兰投入火炉，最终亚伯兰3日3夜毫发未损，哈兰死在火炉中。宁录再次要杀亚伯兰，最终他们全家逃离，神第一次呼召亚伯兰进迦南地。神第二次呼召亚伯兰进迦南地，遇见荒年，撒来险遭不测。罗德与亚伯兰分开，差点被掳去，亚伯兰带318家丁救罗德。神与亚伯兰立约，祝福四方，撒来等不及，夏甲先得子。99岁亚伯兰割礼改名，准备迎接以撒的到来。在准备牛犊的过程中，发现了那埋葬亚当夏娃的洞。上帝灭所多玛地区多城，亚伯拉罕为一人罗的祷告。
Hello everyone, welcome to EnochTH Show. Today we begin the story of Abraham, part 13. Waiting for sweet and happy result after near a century, Abraham had a son with Sarah. Suddenly seeing Ishmael pointing arrow to Isaac and laughing, Abraham expelled Ishmael that led to 1,000-year hatred. In the previous sections we talked before the creation of the heaven and the earth. God called Abram twice, Burim and Burim. Abram was born, and King Nimrod wanted to kill him, but his servant's son took Abram's place. God saved him. Abram searched so hard for the way of back to heaven. Nimrod built a tower to rebel against heaven. In anger, Abram burned idols of false gods and smashed the idols of Nimrod. Abram was thrown in the furnace for 3 days and 3 nights. But he walked out without damage even a single hair. Nimrod had a nightmare and wanted to kill Abram. And Abram entered the land of Canaan in his early 50s. God called Abram for the second time into the land of Canaan. In the famine years, beauty of Sarai almost landed her a disaster. Lot and Abram separated and were almost captured. Abram brought 318 servants to rescue Lot. The covenant made in wilderness will bless the universe. Sarai was anxious to get a son through Hagar. Circumcised at 99 years old, God made covenant with Abram and changed their names to prepare to give birth of a son. Abram sat under oak trees with circumcision pain to welcome travelers. Angels visited them and a calf run away to bring great blessing of knowing the cave of Machpelah. God destroyed the 5 cities of Sodom and saved Lot.
我们来看经文。耶和华按着先前的话眷顾撒拉，便照他所说的给撒拉成就。当亚伯拉罕年老的时候，撒拉怀了孕。到神所说的日期， 就给亚伯拉罕生了一个儿子。亚伯拉罕给撒拉所生的儿子起名叫以撒。以撒生下来第8日，亚伯拉罕照着神所吩咐的，给以撒行了割礼。他儿子以撒生的时候，亚伯拉罕年100岁。撒拉说：“神使我喜笑，凡听见的必与我一同喜笑。”又说：“谁能预先对亚伯拉罕说，撒拉要乳养婴孩呢？因为在他年老的时候，我给他生了一个儿子。孩子渐长，就断了奶。以撒断奶的日子，亚伯拉罕设摆丰盛的筵席。当时撒拉看见埃及人夏甲给亚伯拉罕所生的儿子戏笑，就对亚伯拉罕说：“你把这使女和他儿子赶出去，因为这使女的儿子不可与我的儿子以撒一同承受产业。”亚伯拉罕因他儿子的缘故很忧愁。神对亚伯拉罕说：“你不必为这童子和你的使女忧愁，凡撒拉对你说的话，你都该听从，因为从以撒生的，才要成为你的后裔。至于使女的儿子，我也必使他的后裔成立一国，因为他是你所生的。”亚伯拉罕清早起来，拿饼和一皮带水给了夏甲，搭在他的肩上，又把孩子交给他，打发他走。夏甲就走了，在别是巴的旷野走迷了路。皮带的水用尽了，夏甲就把孩子披在小树底下，自己走开约有1箭之远，相对而坐，说：“我不忍见孩子死。”就相对而坐，放声大哭。神听见童子的声音，神的使者从天上呼叫夏甲说：“夏甲，你为何这样呢？不要害怕，神已经听见童子的声音了。起来，把童子抱在怀中，怀原文是手，我必使他的后裔成为大国。”神使夏甲的眼睛明亮，他就看见一口水井，便去将皮带盛满了水给童子喝。神保佑童子，他就渐长，住在旷野，成了弓箭手。他住在巴兰的旷野，他母亲从埃及的给他娶了一个妻子。当那时候，亚比米勒同他军长非各对亚伯拉罕说：“凡你所行的事都有神的保佑。我愿你如今在这里指着神对我起誓，不要欺负我与我的儿子，并我的子孙。我怎样厚待了你，你也要照样厚待我与你所寄居这地的民。”亚伯拉罕说：“我情愿起誓。”从前亚比米勒的仆人霸占了一口水井，亚伯拉罕为这事指责亚比米勒。亚比米勒说：“谁做这事？我不知道，你也没有告诉我，今日我才听见了。”亚伯拉罕把羊和牛给了亚比米勒，二人就彼此立约。亚伯拉罕把7只母羊羔另放在一处。亚比米勒问亚伯拉罕说：“你把这7只母羊羔另放在一处，是什么意思呢？”他说：“你要从我手里受这7只母羊羔，做我挖这口井的证据。”所以他给那地方起名叫别是巴，就是蒙氏的井的意思，因为他们二人在那里起了誓。他们在别是巴立了约，亚比米勒就同他军长非各起身回非利士的去了。亚伯拉罕在别是巴栽上一棵垂丝柳树，又在那里求告耶和华永生神的名。亚伯拉罕在非利士人的地寄居了多日。创世纪21章1至34节和合本。我们从亚萨尔书可以知道细节。当亚伯拉罕在非利士地的基拉尔寄居了1年0.4个月的时候，耶和华眷顾撒拉，并且纪念他，他就怀孕，给亚伯拉罕生了一个儿子。亚伯拉罕给撒拉所生的儿子起名叫以撒。以撒生下来第8日，亚伯拉罕照着神所吩咐要对他后裔做的，给以撒行了割礼。当以撒出生的时候，亚伯拉罕100岁，撒拉90岁。孩子渐长，就断了奶。 以撒断奶的日子，亚伯拉罕设摆了丰盛的筵席。乌闪、希伯和那地所有的大人物，并非利士人的王亚比米勒，同他的众臣仆和军长菲戈，都在亚伯拉罕为他的儿子以撒断奶的日子所设摆的筵席上吃喝快乐。六亚伯拉罕的父亲他拉和他的兄弟拿赫也从哈兰赶来，他们和所有属他们的人，因为听到撒拉生了一个儿子，就大大欢喜。期他们来见亚伯拉罕，并在亚伯拉罕为他的儿子以撒断奶的日子所设摆的筵席上吃喝。巴他拉和拿赫与亚伯拉罕一同喜乐，又与他在非利士的同住了许多天。就亚伯拉罕的儿子以撒出生的第1年，拉吾的儿子希路死了。时希路共活了239岁就死了。11那时，亚伯拉罕的儿子以实玛利渐渐长大，撒拉给亚伯拉罕生以撒的时候，他14岁。12神保佑亚伯拉罕的儿子以实玛利，他就渐长，学习使用弓箭，成了弓箭手。13当以撒5岁时，他与以实玛利坐在帐篷门口。14以实玛利走过来，坐到他的对面，拿着弓箭，拉开弓，把箭搭上，想要杀以撒。15撒拉看见以实玛利想对他儿子以撒做的事情，就因他儿子的缘故极其忧愁，于是打发人叫亚伯拉罕来，对他说：“你把这使女和他儿子赶出去，他的儿子不可与我的儿子一同承受产业，这是因为他今天向以撒所行的事。”16亚伯拉罕听从了撒拉的话，清早起来，拿12个饼和1瓶水给了夏甲，打发他和他儿子走。夏甲和他的儿子就来到巴兰的旷野，和那地的居民住在一起。以实玛利是一个弓箭手，他在旷野住了很长一段时间。17后来，他和他的母亲来到埃及地，并在那地居住。夏甲从埃及的给他娶了一个妻子，他的名字叫米利巴。18以实玛利的妻子怀了孕，生了4个儿子和2个女儿。后来，以实玛利和他的母亲、妻子和孩子又回到了旷野。19他们在旷野居住的地方支搭帐篷。他们又继续在旷野行进，每月和每年都停下休息。20神因他父亲亚伯拉罕的缘故，就赐给他牛羊和帐篷，那人的牲畜也增加了。21以时，玛丽住在沙漠和帐篷里，时而起行，时而休息，这样过了很长时间，都没有见到他父亲的面。22又过了一段时间，亚伯拉罕对他的妻子撒拉说：“我要去看看我的儿子以实玛利，我很想见到他，因我很久没有看见他了。”23于是亚伯拉罕骑着他的一只骆驼去旷野寻找他的儿子以实玛利，因为他听说他和他的全家都住在旷野的一个帐篷里。24亚伯拉罕去到旷野，约在正午的时候，来到了以实玛利的帐篷。他询问以实玛利，发现以实玛利的妻子和他的孩子坐在帐篷里，她的丈夫以实玛利和他的母亲并不在里面。25亚伯拉罕问以实玛利的妻子说：“以实玛利去哪里了？”他说：“他往田野打猎去了。”亚伯拉罕仍然骑在骆驼上，他不能下到地面，因他曾对他的妻子撒拉起誓说，他不会从骆驼上下来。26亚伯拉罕对以实玛利的妻子说：“我的女儿，请给我一点水喝，因我行路疲乏。”27以实玛利的妻子回答亚伯拉罕说：“我们既没有水，也没有饼。”他仍旧坐在帐篷里，并不再理会亚伯拉罕，他也没有问他是谁。28然而他在帐篷中打他的孩子，并且咒诅他们， 她也咒诅她的丈夫以实玛利，使他蒙羞。亚伯拉罕听见以实玛利的妻子向他的孩子所说的话，就非常生气，并且不悦。29亚伯拉罕就叫这个妇人从帐篷里出来，到他跟前，这个妇人就出来，站在亚伯拉罕的对面，因为亚伯拉罕仍然骑在骆驼上。30亚伯拉罕就对以实玛利的妻子说，等你的丈夫以实玛利回家后，你要把这些话告诉他说。31有一个非常年迈的老人，从非利士的来这里找你，他的相貌和身材就像这样。我没有问他是谁，他看到你不在，就对我说，等你丈夫以实玛利回来以后，告诉他，这人如此说，你回家后要把你帐篷上的橛子收起来，并拿另一个橛子代替他。32亚伯拉罕教训完这妇人，就转身骑着骆驼回家去了。33当以实玛利打完猎，和他的母亲一起回到帐篷时，他的妻子把这些话告诉他说。34有一个非常年迈的老人，从非利士的来这里找你，他的相貌和身材就像这样。我没有问他是谁，他看到你不在，就对我说，等你丈夫以实玛利回来以后，告诉他，这个老人如此说，你回家后要把你帐篷上的橛子收起来，并拿另一个橛子代替他。35以实玛利听完他妻子的话，就知道那是他的父亲，并且他的妻子并没有尊荣他。36以实玛利明白了他父亲对他妻子所说的话，于是他听从了父亲的话，休了这妇人，他就走了。37之后，以实玛利去了迦南的，又娶了另一个妻子，并把她带回他所住的帐篷。38 3年后，亚伯拉罕说，我还要去见我的儿子以实玛利，因我很久没有看见他了。39于是他骑上骆驼去到旷野，约在正午的时候，他来到了以实玛利的帐篷。40他询问以实玛利，他的妻子就从帐篷里出来，说，我主，他不在这里，因他往田野打猎，并喂养骆驼去了。这个妇人又对亚伯拉罕说，我主，请进帐篷来吃一点饼，因你行路一定身心疲乏。41亚伯拉罕对他说，我不能停留，因我要速速起行，然而请你给我一点水喝，因为我渴了。这妇人就赶紧跑进帐篷里，拿出水和饼给亚伯拉罕，放在他面前，劝他吃。他吃了喝了，心里舒畅，就给他的儿子以实玛利祝福。42他吃完后，便赞美耶和华，又对以实玛利的妻子说，等以实玛利回家后，你要把这些话告诉他说。43分有一个非常年迈的老人，从非利士的来这里打听你，但你不在这里。我拿饼和水给他，他就吃了喝了，并且心里舒畅。44他又对我说了这些话，等你的丈夫以实玛利回家以后，你要对他说，你帐篷上的橛子非常好，不要把它从帐篷上取走。45亚伯拉罕吩咐完妇人，就回到了非利士的他的家里。当以实玛利回到他的帐篷，他的妻子以喜乐和愉快的心迎接他。46并对他说，有一个老人从非利士的来这里，他的相貌是这样，他打听了你，但你不在这里，所以我拿饼和水给他，他就吃了喝了，并且心里舒畅。47然后他又对我说了这些话，当你的丈夫以实玛利回家后，你要对他说，你帐篷上的橛子非常好，不要把它从帐篷上取走。48以实玛利就知道那是他的父亲，并且他的妻子尊荣了他。耶和华就祝福以实玛利。亚撒尔书第22章。于是以实玛利起来，带着他的妻子和孩子、牲畜，并他一切所有的，从这地起行， 到了非利士的他父亲那里。二亚伯拉罕把他遇到以实玛利的第一个妻子所发生的事情，并他所做的一切，都告诉了以实玛利。三以实玛利和他的孩子就在这地与亚伯拉罕同住了多日。亚伯拉罕在非利士人的地住了许久。4日子加增，到了第26年，亚伯拉罕带着他的仆人和眷属，离开非利士人的地，迁往远方。他们来到希伯伦的边上，就停在那里。亚伯拉罕的仆人挖了一口水井，亚伯拉罕和他的全家都靠这水生存。非利士人的王亚比米勒的仆人听说了亚伯拉罕的仆人在这地的边境挖井的消息，他们就来与亚伯拉罕的仆人争闹，并抢夺他们所挖的井。22:6非利士人的王亚比米勒听闻此事，就带着他的军长菲各和20个臣仆来见亚伯拉罕。他与亚伯拉罕论到他的仆人，亚伯拉罕就为他仆人霸占他的井这件事指责他。亚比米勒对亚伯拉罕说：“我指着创造全地的永生之耶和华起誓，我并不知道我的仆人像你的仆人所做的事，直到今日才听见了。于是亚伯拉罕把7只母羊羔给了亚比米勒，对他说：“请你从我手中受这些，做我挖这口井的证据。”亚比米勒从亚伯拉罕受了那7只母羊羔，因为亚伯拉罕之前也给了他许多的牲畜和牛羊。亚比米勒为这井向亚伯拉罕起誓，所以他给这井起名叫别是巴，因他们2人在这里起了誓。使他们2人在别是巴立了约，亚比米勒就同他的军长菲各和所有的臣仆起身回非利士的去了。亚伯拉罕和他的全家又在那地住了许久。亚伯拉罕在别是巴种了一大片树林，并对着他向地的四方开了4道门。他在里面栽了一个葡萄园，以便客人来的时候，可以从途经的任何一道门进来，在这里停留，吃喝，并得享饱足之后再离开。亚伯拉罕的房子总是向那些来了又来，每天都来他家里吃喝的世人敞开。不论是谁来到他的家里，那人若是饿了，亚伯拉罕就给他饼吃，叫他吃喝得饱。那人若是赤身露体，亚伯拉罕就让他挑选自己的衣服来穿，并给他金银，让他认识那在地上创造了他的耶和华。这就是亚伯拉罕的一生。亚伯拉罕和他的众子及其眷属都住在别是巴，他们的帐篷一直直达到希伯伦。亚伯拉罕的兄弟拿鹤和他的父亲并他们所有的眷属都住在哈兰，他们没有和亚伯拉罕一起来迦南地。拿鹤的妻子密迦是哈兰的女儿，亚伯拉罕的妻子撒拉的妹妹，他给拿鹤生了儿子。他们的名字记在下面：乌斯、布斯、基姆利、基薛、哈索、毕达、易拉、比土利。这8个儿子都是密迦给亚伯拉罕的兄弟拿鹤生的。拿鹤的妾名叫流玛，他也给拿鹤生了4个儿子，他们是提巴、加含、他辖和马加。拿鹤除了女儿之外，共有12个儿子，他们也在哈兰生了孩子。拿鹤的长子乌斯所生的孩子是亚比、希利弗、加底、米路斯和他们的妹妹底波拉。布斯的儿子是比拉杰、拿马、示法、马多努。基姆利的儿子是亚兰和利戈弗。基薛的儿子是亚拿利、米筛、比嫩和以菲。哈索的儿子是肥达、米西和阿肥。毕达的儿子是亚路、加姆、米利、摩路。 25伊拉的儿子是母山、古山、母西。26比土利的孩子是西加、拉班和他们的妹妹利百加。27这些都是拿鹤的儿子们的宗族，是他们在哈兰所生的。基姆利的儿子亚兰和他的兄弟利哥弗离开了哈兰，在幼发拉底河的边上找到一个山谷。28他们在那里建了一座城，以亚兰的儿子皮夺的名字给那城命名。他们被称为亚兰拿希拉人，直到今日。29基薛的儿子们也出去找了一个地方住，他们来到是拿地对面的谷中，就住在那里。30他们在那里建了一座城，以他们的父亲基薛的名字给那城命名。那地被称为加斯底的，直到今日。加斯底人在那地居住，生养众多，极其繁茂。31拿鹤和亚伯拉罕的父亲他拉在年老的时候又娶了一妻，他的名字叫法利拉。他给他拉生了一个儿子，给他起名叫索巴。32他拉生了索巴之后，又活了25年。33他拉在亚伯拉罕的儿子以撒35岁那一年就死了。34他拉共活了205岁，葬在哈兰。35他拉的儿子索巴活到30岁，生了亚兰、亚和利斯和米利。36他拉的儿子索巴的儿子亚兰有3个妻子，他一共生了12个儿子和3个女儿。耶和华赐给他财物和产业，并许多的牛群、羊群和牲畜，他就极其发达。37索巴的儿子亚兰和他的弟兄，并他们所有的眷属，从哈兰起行，去寻找可居住的地方。哈兰容不下他们，因他们的财物甚多，使他们和他们的弟兄拿鹤其他的儿子不能同居。38于是亚兰和他的弟兄离开那地，在向东一段距离的地方找到一个山谷，就在那里居住。39他们也在那地建了一座城，以他们的长兄亚兰的名字给那地命名。那地被称为亚兰所巴，直到今日。40那些日子，亚伯拉罕的儿子以撒渐渐长大，他的父亲亚伯拉罕以耶和华的道教训他，使他认识耶和华，耶和华就与他同在。
Let's look at the scriptures. And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did for Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son who was born to him, whom Sarah bore to him, Isaac. Then Abraham circumcised his son Isaac when he was 8 days old, as God had commanded him. Now Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. And Sarah said, God has made me laugh, and all who hear will laugh with me. She also said, who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? For I have borne him a son in his old age. So the child grew and was weaned. And Abraham made a great feast on the same day that Isaac was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, whom she had borne to Abraham, scoffing. Therefore she said to Abraham, cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, namely with Isaac. And the matter was very displeasing in Abraham's sight because of his son. But God said to Abraham, do not let it be displeasing in your sight because of the lad or because of your bondwoman. Whatever Sarah has said to you, listen to her voice, for in Isaac your seed shall be called. Yet I will also make a nation of the son of the bondwoman, because he is your seed. So Abraham rose early in the morning, and took bread and a skin of water, and putting it on her shoulder, he gave it and the boy to Hagar, and sent her away. Then she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. And the water in the skin was used up, and she placed the boy under one of the shrubs. Then she went and sat down across from him at a distance of about a bowshot, for she said to herself, "Let me not see the death of the boy." So she sat opposite him, and lifted her voice and wept. And God heard the voice of the lad. Then the angel of God called to Hagar out of heaven, and said to her, "What ails you, Hagar? Fear not, for God has heard the voice of the lad where he is. Arise, lift up the lad and hold him with your hand, for I will make him a great nation." Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went and filled the skin with water, and gave the lad a drink. So God was with the lad, and he grew and dwelt in the wilderness, and became an archer. He dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took a wife for him from the land of Egypt. And it came to pass at that time that Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, spoke to Abraham, saying, "God is with you in all that you do. Now therefore, swear to me by God that you will not deal falsely with me, with my offspring, or with my posterity, but that according to the kindness that I have done to you, you will do to me and to the land in which you have dwelt." And Abraham said, "I will swear." Then Abraham rebuked Abimelech because of a well of water which Abimelech's servants had seized. And Abimelech said, "I do not know who has done this thing, you did not tell me, nor had I heard of it until today." So Abraham took sheep and oxen and gave them to Abimelech, and the two of them made a covenant. And Abraham set 7 ewe lambs of the flock by themselves. Then Abimelech asked Abraham, "What is the meaning of these 7 ewe lambs which you have set by themselves?" And he said, "You will take these 7 ewe lambs from my hand, that they may be my witness that I have dug this well." Therefore he called that place Beersheba, because the two of them swore an oath there. Thus they made a covenant at Beersheba. So Abimelech rose with Phicol, the commander of his army, and they returned to the land of the Philistines. Then Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, and there called on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. And Abraham stayed in the land of the Philistines many days. Genesis 21 verses 1 to 34 NKJV. We know the details from the book of Jasher. Chapter 21. 1. And it was at that time, at the end of a year and 4 months of Abraham's dwelling in the land of the Philistines in Gerar, that God visited Sarah, and the Lord remembered her, and she conceived and bare a son to Abraham. 2. And Abraham called the name of the son which was born to him, which Sarah bare to him, Isaac. 3. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac at 8 days old, as God had commanded Abraham to do unto his seed after him, and Abraham was 100, and Sarah 90 years old, when Isaac was born to them. 4. And the child grew up and he was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast upon the day that Isaac was weaned. 5. And Shem and Eber and all the great people of the land, and Abimelech king of the Philistines, and his servants, and Phicol, the captain of his host, came to eat and drink and rejoice at the feast which Abraham made upon the day of his son Isaac's being weaned. 6. Also Terah, the father of Abraham, and Nahor his brother, came from Haran, they and all belonging to them, for they greatly rejoiced on hearing that a son had been born to Sarah. 7. And they came to Abraham, and they ate and drank at the feast which Abraham made upon the day of Isaac's being weaned. 8. And Terah and Nahor rejoiced with Abraham, and they remained with him many days in the land of the Philistines. 9. At that time Sarah the son of Ru died, in the 1st year of the birth of Isaac son of Abraham. 10 And all the days of Sarah were 239 years, and he died. 11 And Ishmael, the son of Abraham, was grown up in those days. He was 14 years old when Sarah bare Isaac to Abraham. 12 And God was with Ishmael the son of Abraham, and he grew up, and he learned to use the bow and became an archer. 13 And when Isaac was 5 years old, he was sitting with Ishmael at the door of the tent. 14 And Ishmael came to Isaac and seated himself opposite to him, and he took the bow and drew it and put the arrow in it, and intended to slay Isaac. 15 And Sarah saw the act which Ishmael desired to do to her son Isaac, and it grieved her exceedingly on account of her son, and she sent for Abraham, and said to him, Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for her son shall not be heir with my son, for thus did he seek to do unto him this day. 16 And Abraham hearkened to the voice of Sarah, and he rose up early in the morning, and he took 12 loaves and a bottle of water which he gave to Hagar, and sent her away with her son, and Hagar went with her son to the wilderness, and they dwelt in the wilderness of Paran with the inhabitants of the wilderness, and Ishmael was an archer, and he dwelt in the wilderness a long time. 17 And he and his mother afterward went to the land of Egypt, and they dwelt there, and Hagar took a wife for her son from Egypt, and her name was Meribah. 18 And the wife of Ishmael conceived and bare 4 sons and 2 daughters, and Ishmael and his mother and his wife and children afterward went and returned to the wilderness. 19 And they made themselves tents in the wilderness, in which they dwelt, and they continued to travel and then to rest monthly and yearly. 20 And God gave Ishmael flocks and herds and tents on account of Abraham his father, and the man increased in cattle. 21 And Ishmael dwelt in deserts and in tents, traveling and resting for a long time, and he did not see the face of his father. 22 And in some time after, Abraham said to Sarah his wife, I will go and see my son Ishmael, for I have a desire to see him, for I have not seen him for a long time. 23 And Abraham rode upon one of his camels to the wilderness to seek his son Ishmael, for he heard that he was dwelling in a tent in the wilderness with all belonging to him. 24 And Abraham went to the wilderness, and he reached the tent of Ishmael about noon, and he asked after Ishmael, and he found the wife of Ishmael sitting in the tent with her children, and Ishmael her husband and his mother were not with them. 25 And Abraham asked the wife of Ishmael, saying, Where has Ishmael gone? And she said, He is gone to the field to hunt, and Abraham was still mounted upon the camel, for he would not get off to the ground as he had sworn to his wife Sarah that he would not get off from the camel. 26 And Abraham said to Ishmael's wife, My daughter, give me a little water that I may drink, for I am fatigued from the journey. 27 And Ishmael's wife answered and said to Abraham, We have neither water nor bread. And she continued sitting in the tent and did not notice Abraham, neither did she ask him who he was. 28 But she was beating her children in the tent, and she was cursing them, and she also cursed her husband Ishmael and reproached him, and Abraham heard the words of Ishmael's wife to her children, and he was very angry and displeased. 29 And Abraham called to the woman to come out to him from the tent, and the woman came and stood opposite to Abraham, for Abraham was still mounted upon the camel. 30 And Abraham said to Ishmael's wife, When thy husband Ishmael returneth home, say these words to him. 31 A very old man from the land of the Philistines came hither to seek thee, and thus was his appearance and figure. I did not ask him who he was, and seeing thou wast not here, he spoke unto me and said, When Ishmael thy husband returneth, tell him thus did this man say, When thou comest home, put away this nail of the tent which thou hast placed here, and place another nail in its stead. 32 And Abraham finished his instructions to the woman, and he turned and went off on the camel homeward. 33 And after that Ishmael came from the chase, he and his mother, and returned to the tent, and his wife spoke these words to him. 34 A very old man from the land of the Philistines came to seek thee, and thus was his appearance and figure. I did not ask him who he was, and seeing thou wast not at home, he said to me, When thy husband cometh home, tell him, Thus saith the old man, Put away the nail of the tent which thou hast placed here, and place another nail in its stead. 35 And Ishmael heard the words of his wife, and he knew that it was his father, and that his wife did not honor him. 36 And Ishmael understood his father's words that he had spoken to his wife, and Ishmael hearkened to the voice of his father, and Ishmael cast off that woman, and she went away. 37 And Ishmael afterward went to the land of Canaan, and he took another wife, and he brought her to his tent to the place where he then dwelt. 38 And at the end of 3 years Abraham said, I will go again and see Ishmael my son, for I have not seen him for a long time. 39 And he rode upon his camel, and went to the wilderness, and he reached the tent of Ishmael about noon. 40 And he asked after Ishmael, and his wife came out of the tent, and she said, He is not here, my lord, for he is gone to hunt in the fields, and to feed the camels. And the woman said to Abraham, Turn in, my lord, into the tent, and eat a morsel of bread, for thy soul must be wearied on account of the journey. 41 And Abraham said to her, I will not stop, for I am in haste to continue my journey, but give me a little water to drink, for I have thirst. And the woman hastened and ran into the tent, and she brought out water and bread to Abraham, which she placed before him, and she urged him to eat, and he ate and drank, and his heart was comforted, and he blessed his son Ishmael. 42 And he finished his meal, and he blessed the Lord, and he said to Ishmael's wife, When Ishmael cometh home, say these words to him. 43 A very old man from the land of the Philistines came hither and asked after thee, and thou wast not here, and I brought him out bread and water, and he ate and drank, and his heart was comforted. 44 And he spoke these words to me, When Ishmael thy husband cometh home, say unto him, The nail of the tent which thou hast is very good, do not put it away from the tent. 45 And Abraham finished commanding the woman, and he rode off to his home to the land of the Philistines. And when Ishmael came to his tent, his wife went forth to meet him with joy and a cheerful heart. 46 And she said to him, An old man came here from the land of the Philistines, and thus was his appearance. And he asked after thee, and thou wast not here, so I brought out bread and water, and he ate and drank, and his heart was comforted. 47 And he spoke these words to me, When Ishmael thy husband cometh home, say to him, The nail of the tent which thou hast is very good, do not put it away from the tent. 48 And Ishmael knew that it was his father, and that his wife had honored him, and the Lord blessed Ishmael. Chapter 22 1 And Ishmael then rose up and took his wife and his children and his cattle and all belonging to him, and he journeyed from there, and he went to his father in the land of the Philistines. 2 And Abraham related to Ishmael his son the transaction with the first wife that Ishmael took, according to what she did. 3 And Ishmael and his children dwelt with Abraham many days in that land, and Abraham dwelt in the land of the Philistines a long time. 4 And the days increased and reached 26 years, and after that Abraham with his servants and all belonging to him went from the land of the Philistines and removed to a great distance, and they came near to Hebron, and they remained there. And the servants of Abraham dug wells of water, and Abraham and all belonging to him dwelt by the water. And the servants of Abimelech king of the Philistines heard the report that Abraham's servants had dug wells of water in the borders of the land. 5 And they came and quarreled with the servants of Abraham, and they robbed them of the great well which they had dug. 6 And Abimelech king of the Philistines heard of this affair, and he with Phicol the captain of his host and 20 of his men came to Abraham, and Abimelech spoke to Abraham concerning his servants, and Abraham rebuked Abimelech concerning the well of which his servants had robbed him. 7 And Abimelech said to Abraham, As the Lord liveth, who created the whole earth, I did not hear of the act which my servants did unto thy servants until this day. 8 And Abraham took 7 ewe lambs and gave them to Abimelech, saying, Take these, I pray thee, from my hands, that it may be a testimony for me that I dug this well. 9 And Abimelech took the 7 ewe lambs which Abraham had given to him, for he had also given him cattle and herds in abundance, and Abimelech swore to Abraham concerning the well, therefore he called that well Beersheba, for there they both swore concerning it. 10 And they both made a covenant in Beersheba, and Abimelech rose up with Phicol the captain of his host and all his men, and they returned to the land of the Philistines, and Abraham and all belonging to him dwelt in Beersheba, and he was in that land a long time. 11 And Abraham planted a large grove in Beersheba, and he made to it 4 gates facing the 4 sides of the earth, and he planted a vineyard in it, so that if a traveler came to Abraham he entered any gate which was in his road, and remained there and ate and drank and satisfied himself and then departed. 12 For the house of Abraham was always open to the sons of men that passed and repassed, who came daily to eat and drink in the house of Abraham. 13 And any man who had hunger and came to Abraham's house, Abraham would give him bread that he might eat and drink and be satisfied, and anyone that came naked to his house he would clothe with garments as he might choose, and give him silver and gold, and make known to him the Lord who had created him in the earth. This did Abraham all his life. 14 And Abraham and his children and all belonging to him dwelt in Beersheba, and he pitched his tent as far as Hebron. 15 And Abraham's brother Nahor and his father and all belonging to them dwelt in Haran, for they did not come with Abraham to the land of Canaan. 16 And children were born to Nahor which Milcah the daughter of Haran, and sister to Sarah, Abraham's wife, bare to him. 17 And these are the names of those that were born to him, Uzi, Buz, Kemuel, Kest, Chazo, Pildash, Tidlaph, and Bethuel, being 8 sons. These are the children of Milcah which she bare to Nahor, Abraham's brother. 18 And Nahor had a concubine and her name was Reumah, and she also bare to Nahor, Zibach, Gashash, Takash and Maachah, being 4 sons. 19 And the children that were born to Nahor were 12 sons, besides his daughters, and they also had children born to them in Haran. 20 And the children of Uzi the firstborn of Nahor were Abi, Chereph, Gaddan, Melis, and Deborah their sister. 21 And the sons of Buz were Barachel, Namath, Sheva, and Madonu. 22 And the sons of Kemuel were Aram and Rechab. 23 And the sons of Kest were Anamlech, Mashai, Banan and Yithi, and the sons of Chazo were Pildash, Mechi and Ophir. 24 And the sons of Pildash were Arad, Shamam, Mird and Moloch. 25 And the sons of Tidlaph were Mushan, Cushan and Mutzi. 26 And the children of Bethuel were Secher, Laban and their sister Rebekah. 27 These are the families of the children of Nahor, that were born to them in Haran, and Aram the son of Kemuel and Rechab his brother went away from Haran, and they found a valley in the land by the river Euphrates. 28 And they built a city there, and they called the name of the city after the name of Pether the son of Aram, that is Aram Naharaim unto this day. 29 And the children of Kest also went to dwell where they could find a place, and they went and they found a valley opposite to the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. 30 And they there built themselves a city, and they called the name of the city Kest after the name of their father, that is the land Kasdim unto this day, and the Kasdim dwelt in that land, and they were fruitful and multiplied exceedingly. 31 And Terah, father of Nahor and Abraham, went and took another wife in his old age, and her name was Pelilah, and she conceived and bare him a son, and he called his name Zobah. 32 And Terah lived 25 years after he begot Zobah. 33 And Terah died in that year, that is in the 35th year of the birth of Isaac son of Abraham. 34 And the days of Terah were 205 years, and he was buried in Haran. 35 And Zobah the son of Terah lived 30 years, and he begot Aram, Achlas, and Marek. 36 And Aram son of Zobah son of Terah had 3 wives, and he begot 12 sons and 3 daughters. And the Lord gave to Aram the son of Zobah riches and possessions, and abundance of cattle, and flocks and herds, and the man increased greatly. 37 And Aram the son of Zobah and his brother and all his household journeyed from Haran, and they went to dwell where they should find a place, for their property was too great to remain in Haran, for they could not stop in Haran together with their brethren the children of Nahor. 38 And Aram the son of Zobah went with his brethren, and they found a valley at a distance toward the eastern country, and they dwelt there. 39 And they also built a city there, and they called the name thereof Aram, after the name of their eldest brother, that is Aram Zobah to this day. 40 And Isaac the son of Abraham was growing up in those days, and Abraham his father taught him the way of the Lord to know the Lord, and the Lord was with him.
下回书第14部分，这是亚伯拉罕的最高潮，献以撒。孩子戏言天当真，献子考验是真心。父子同心泪满面，满心喜悦真信心。谢谢大家收听以诺谈天节目，希望大家顺着思绪听，我们下回见。
Next part 14 is the climax of Abraham offering Isaac. A child's jokes became seriously, offering his to test Abraham's sincerity. The father and son were united in tears, full of joy and true confidence in their hearts. Thank you for listening to the Enoch Talk Show. I hope you will listen to it in order. See you next time.